It's Labor Day weekend. It's the end of the summer season, which means going to the beach, barbecuing, and doing all that other fun summer stuff one last time. But what is the holiday really about?
The Industrial Revolution modernized the United States and Canada during the 19th century. As people enjoyed steady employment, they compromised their rights in the workplace. Longer work hours and pay cuts were imposed. U.S. labor groups began protecting themselves by unionizing.
As the name would suggest, Labor Day is a day to celebrate the workers of America, as well as the achievements of unions. The first example of a Labor Day celebration can be traced back to the late 19th century. On September 5, 1882, 10,000 workers took the day off to march in New York for better working conditions, including an 8-hour workday, from City Hall to Union Square. Eventually, this idea gained traction, and many other industrial cities and states passed laws recognizing the first Monday in September as, quote, the working man's holiday. But it wasn't until over a decade later, when Labor Day became a national holiday. On May 11, 1894, workers at Chicago's Pullman Palace Car Company went on strike against wage cuts. A little over a month later, Eugene Debs in the American Railroad Union helped promote a successful boycott of Pullman cars.
President Grover Cleveland faced pressure to end the demonstrations and sent 12,000 federal troops to break the strike. Violence erupted. 2 strikers were killed, and Cleveland's harsh methods made headlines. In an attempt to appease the nation's workers, he signed a bill to make Labor Day a federal holiday.
Over a century later, unionization rates are among their lowest in American history, owing in part to the rise of anti-union legislation, particularly so-called right-to-work laws. Now, that doesn't sound so bad, you might say. Well, take it from economist and former Labor Secretary Robert Reich.
Right to work is wrong. In a number of states, a battle is being waged over so-called right-to-work laws, which should really be called right-to-work is wrong laws because they're so bad for workers. Consider these facts. The average worker in states with right-to-work laws makes 12.2% less annually than workers in states without right-to-work laws when all other factors are removed. People in right-to-work states are less likely to have health insurance and pay more out-of-pocket for insurance. Right-to-work states have higher poverty, higher infant mortality, less investment in education, and higher workplace fatalities. Here's how. Under the National Labor Relations Act of 1935, when a majority of workers votes for a union in their workplace, they're entitled to have a union. And that union bargains with management for higher wages and better working conditions. The union has bargaining clout because all workers at that company are union members. That's what union means. Right to work takes away the rights of workers in a union to collect dues from everyone in the bargaining unit who benefits from the bargains. This eventually eliminates the resources the union needs to bargain for higher wages and put pressure on employers. When unions are able to get higher wages and better working conditions, this raises the bar for all workers.
What is especially insulting about supporters of anti-union legislation, as well as opponents of pro-union legislation, is that they still use the language of the holiday to appear more pro-worker than they are. But it's not just anti-union laws that have completely defiled the meaning of Labor Day, although that has certainly played a significant role in doing so. It also has to do with corporations using the holiday weekend as a marketing ploy. Take Nike, for instance. Their Labor Day sale for this year includes up to 40% off on select apparel. Sounds pretty good, right? Well, as they use the holiday to sell more of their goods, they won't tell you that they use forced labor where its factories overseas resemble prisons and its workers are forced to work and forbidden to leave against their will. Another more glaring example is Walmart, which is promoting nearly 2,000 sales for the holiday, as they are one of the biggest users of slave labor in all of corporate America. Quote, all 14 factories in Cambodia were studied, and they all violated local overtime laws consistently, with some forcing 14-hour workdays without overtime pay in sweltering heat without adequate supply of clean drinking water or any breaks. These same conditions were expressed by workers in factories in India, Indonesia, and Bangladesh. End quote. I could go on, but I think you get the point by now. In addition, the lack of a living wage and paid time off for workers in this country is especially insulting to the workers that people in power claim to care so much about and that our government celebrates. All in all, the meaning of Labor Day has been completely lost through corporate greed and using the holiday to make a profit while exploiting those it is supposedly celebrating. However, as I mentioned in my video last week, responding to Second Thought's video about whether or not we're seeing a new labor movement in America, there are ways to get involved. By joining local organizations and standing in solidarity with unions in your community, a new labor movement is possible. And with public support for unions continuously on an upward trend, if enough people take the actions that are at their disposal, we can take Labor Day back from corporatization and commercialization.